Hello everybody. Welcome to our series of East West Center Alumni Chapter UB podcast. We have a very special guest today. We have Dr. Satu P.Limaye, who's visited Mongolia for the first time from the East West Center, Washington. Dr. P.Limaye is the Vice President of the East West Center and also the Director of Research in the East West Center in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for dedicating time, and my pleasure to meet you in person.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Well, I think, so we're trying to do this podcast series with the UB chapter here, and we only had one session prior to this, so this is a very special series for us, and hopefully our alumni chapter not only from Ulaanbaatar can also be able to understand more about the East West Center, especially East West Center in Washington.
Great.
And also I think it's important for a lot of the alumni are from Honolulu chapter in Honolulu. So I myself is also lived in Honolulu for 2 years, an affiliate of the East West Center for 2 years. And the center is very close to my heart. So I think it's important to maybe perhaps start with introducing yourself and then the East West Centers in Washington's priority areas.
Sure. Well, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much for the chance to speak with you. For those who don't know the East West Center, just a reminder that it was established in 1960 to promote education, research, and study exchange between the United States and Asia. And we're delighted that Mongolia is such an active and robust chapter, and looking forward to meeting many of the alumni at the reception at the U.S. Embassy later this week, and delighted to speak with you. As you know, for 63 odd years, the East West Center has been primarily focused in Honolulu. We have had for about 20 years an office in Washington. And though I'm Vice President of the Center and Director of Research and Interim Director of the Professional Development Program, which are both in Honolulu, I'm based in Washington, where I direct the East West Center in Washington. And so our institutional East West Center priorities are applicable to the whole institution. They are to develop and equip leaders, to convene impactful dialogues, to partner with Pacific Islands, where we have a very special relationship. Of course, we work throughout the Indo-Pacific region. The fourth is to support good governance, and the fifth is to foster environmental solutions. So all of these pillars, more or less, work across the center depending on the kind of program, whether it's education, professional development, research, or Washington. And so in Washington, we're focused on 3 or 4 big things. One is the Young Professionals Program, which is our develop and equip leaders. We have wonderful alumni from Mongolia who've participated, really future leaders internationally and in Mongolia, we feel. Second is we've had visiting fellows, same part of that, developing and equipping leaders. The third is we do a lot of convening. So we hold conferences, dialogues, seminars, events. And of course, Mongolia, just this past week before coming here, we hosted the U.S. Ambassador to Mongolia and the Mongolian Chamber of Commerce. So we had a fantastic hour-long discussion on current issues in Mongolia, economy, politics, international relations. So those are some of the things we do, and they very much reflect primarily our focus on the developing and equipping leaders and the convening impactful dialogues element of our work. Yes.
And yeah, I think one of the important thing about the East West Center in Washington is Asia Pacific Bulletin.
Yes.
My first experience with my piece that's going to be published tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
And I think the importance of East West Center serving as a think tank is crucial to understand. A lot of the alumni are basically from East West Center in Hawaii, so short-term professional development programs and education programs. But I think it's important for our alumni to be engaged more into contributing to Asia Pacific Bulletin. So can you highlight a little bit about Asia Pacific Bulletin and also Asia Matters for America?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for writing a terrific piece for us. As you said, tomorrow we will publish a series on Mongolia issues and U.S.-Mongolia relations, comprising of authors both from the United States as well as from Mongolia, such as yourself. And they cover a range of topics: energy, international relations, bilateral relations. You've touched upon development and gender issues. It's a really important element. So the Asia Pacific Bulletin, when I took the role at the East-West Center in Washington, we needed a very short, analytical, topical, policy-relevant piece. And I looked around Washington at all the think tanks and looked at what was being done. And I thought we had a particular place to bring Americans and Asians together to write in a common series. So the U.S.-Mongolia series that will be released tomorrow is an example of how we use the Asia-Pacific Bulletin as a platform to bring Americans and Asians to share research, share ideas, share thoughts, collaborate with each other. So that's the simple explanation. And I'm really excited about that publication tomorrow before our alumni meeting. And you asked me about Asia Matters for America. That's very simple. The purpose is, I think, very simple: to explain to Americans, not necessarily working on U.S.-Asia relations, why our involvement in the Indo-Pacific region is so important. How does it affect their daily lives? How are they engaged? Not just strategic issues, military issues, international relations issues, but education, culture, local impacts, jobs, investment, trade. How do they encounter the Indo-Pacific in their daily lives? And by the same token, we want to show how America impacts Indo-Pacific. There are American companies here. There are American students here. There is exchange between us. There are the UB dialogue, Ulaanbaatar dialogue that's coming up over the next 2 days. So these are ways in which we can highlight how the U.S. and Mongolia, or other countries in the Indo-Pacific region, have a stake in the U.S. relationship. So that's really the purpose of it, and it's all online, asiamattersforamerica.org, and you can go and find out more.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it tomorrow, because this is a special, dedicated publication specifically for Mongolia.
Yes,
on Mongolia, right?
the Asia Pacific Bulletin.
Yes.
It's only about U.S., Mongolia, and Mongolia.
Great. So based on the recent active engagement of Mongolia and also our economy, what do you think are the, between the East-West Center and Washington, what do you think are the key priority areas specifically between America and Mongolia these days?
Sure. In terms of the East-West Center's work, as I said, developing and equipping leaders and convening impactful dialogue. So we're always looking for an opportunity to get young Mongolians involved in our Young Professionals Program. We're looking for more Mongolians to apply for our visiting fellowship opportunities. We have a new opportunity called RICE, R-I-C-E, which is Research, Innovation, and Collaboration Exchange. So you can put a proposal in to do a particular shared joint project. And we have just done the first advertisement for this initiative, and it closed on May 31st, but we will repeat this in future years. So that's another example of a way in which we can work with Mongolian colleagues. And I've already been talking over the last 2 days across the city with people from your government, from your think tanks, from your university, about ways that we could collaborate. So I'm looking forward to some proposals next year. The third way I think would be really terrific is if we had more opportunities to share the kind of Asia Pacific Bulletin analyses that you have written for. I think that's a very low cost and high impact way of sharing perspectives. So we hope there'll be more people such as yourself who will think, oh, I'd like to write about and explain Mongolia's views or perspectives or developments on this area, whether that be commercial issues, cultural issues, international relations issues, business issues. It's always good to get that real perspective. And then finally, I'm always on the hunt for opportunities that we don't know about. So instead of saying, here's what we do and please dock onto it, my approach is, yeah, we have to do that. That's the base. But the question is, what aren't we doing? What are ideas from others where we can learn new things or put together new initiatives that we haven't thought of before? And so one of the things I'm listening to a lot in Mongolia is for how they manage relationships with a number of key players, not only the two countries that surround Mongolia, Russia and China, but also the third neighbors. And is there something that we can learn from that experience and utilize that experience? And so I've had some really great talks over the last 2-3 days and looking forward to more this week.
That's fantastic. Yeah, hopefully we would have a lot of our alumni on Friday, and then you get to meet each one of them representing Mongolia. And I think that's a part of the step for not only our alumni, but also for Mongolians to also be contributing to perhaps Asia Pacific Bulletin and the fellowship programs in DC moving forward. So
yeah, in fact, I went to the university yesterday and meet with some professors to get a sense of what is possible in terms of also educational links. So there's always, interesting ideas to explore.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, this is your first time in Mongolia.
Yeah.
So last question.
Yeah.
How do you find, physically coming to Mongolia for the first time?
Well, I would not be truthful if I didn't say it's a long trip. It's a long journey from Washington, but I've been here now for 72 hours. And I can tell you that a couple of really big surprises. Mongolia is, as everyone knows, surrounded by Russia and China. But when you're here, my sense is that Mongolia occupies this particularly distinct space between sort of Central Asia and Asia, which is kind of visible in the architecture, in the Cyrillic alphabet that's everywhere, but also Mongolian. So you have this very interesting mix where you could see a statue of a Turkish whirling dervish, but you can also see Genghis Khan, and you can see Russian Cyrillic and Mongolian culture. So it's a really, really interesting and kind of intriguing mix, and I wasn't prepared for the depth of it when you come on the ground. It's one thing to read and see pictures, it's another thing to walk. I've been walking around the streets, visiting the monastery, going to the university, meeting people, and I just think it's really opened my eyes to Mongolia's unique place in the world.
Great, great. Sounds like you're enjoying the trip so far. And yeah, thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And you know where to go. You can always go to eastwestcenter.org for more information. And our chapter is always welcome to all of you who are interested. Thank you.
Thank you very much.